What's up, guys? Welcome to Fantasy Smack Talk. I'm Namco, sitting here with Dustin. Week 9's upon us, but real quick, we want to give a shout out to our weekly pick'em winner of Week 8, and that's B. Cole Benjamin. We've already been in touch. This guy's going to be sending you your shirt. All right, Dustin, with the trade deadline just around the corner and the playoffs not too far behind, let's give the guys some tips on what they should be looking to do.
All right, if your team's sitting pretty right now, it is time to be thinking long term. You need to start looking at playoff matchups when you do anything. We're talking pickups, especially when doing trades. You need to be looking at the playoff matchups. And it's also even time to maybe even throw some lowball offers for some guys that are going to be there when it counts the most. Guys like Sidney Rice, Vincent Jackson. Try to get some of these guys on your team. Obviously, if you're down at the bottom of the rankings, you need to be thinking short term. But if you're sitting pretty, start looking forward.
And something else to really look to do is do a 2 defensive strategy. And what we mean by that is we're pretty much through the bye, so your core team is there. So drop one of your worst bench player and pick up a defense that has a good matchup 2 weeks from now. That way you don't have to deal with the waiver wire process, and you just keep doing that over and over again. So you're always going to have a solid team with a solid matchup. All right, Dustin, let's get into those forum questions. The first question comes from PJazz24. He wants to know about his flex play in a non-PPR league. He wants to know Hillis versus New England or Creighton versus the god-awful secondary of the Houston Texans. They're terrible.
This is tricky, but in a non-PPR league, I think it makes it a little bit easier. Hillis, much better chance of finding the end zone than Creighton. And the Smack Talk community agrees. 58% says Hillis. I think he's the safer play here, but I do like Creighton's upside. In other matchups, I think Creighton could be the way to go, but this one, go with Hillis. All right, Jughead, which quarterback? Freeman versus at Atlanta. Favre versus Arizona. Fitzpatrick versus Chicago. Kitna at Green Bay, or Stafford versus the Jets. 47% on the homepage said Freeman.
And I agree with the community. I really like Freeman this week against Atlanta. He's been playing great, and he gets you those bonus yards with his legs that really do help out. He's almost a lock to get anywhere between 20 and 40 rushing yards, which is certainly a big help. Go with Freeman. I think he's a top 10 quarterback this week due to all the buys.
Top 10?
Top 10 quarterback. All right, Dustin. Tags82 wants to know, I wonder who you're going to say, Blunt versus Atlanta, Bo versus Oakland, or Fred Jackson versus Chicago. Shock the world.
You know, we had to get at least one question in there with Blunt. I have a man crush, I'll admit it. 64% of the Smack Talk community agrees with me, though, and says Blunt's the play here. I know, Oakland's secondary is a little banged up right now, but I think Blunt has a good second game. I don't know if he'll do what he did last week, but I still think he has a solid game this week.
He will give you a puncher's chance. Get it?
All right, let's get into those studs, duds, and sleepers. We'll start with mine. My stud, the Giants defense. It's looking like Hasselbeck's not going to play. Seattle gives up a ton of sacks on offense, and the Giants get a ton of sacks. You do the math. Should be a big game for the Giants D. My dud is Seattle's offense. Try to find a way to get all these guys on your bench. I don't like the matchup. I think it's going to get ugly out there. And my sleeper, Steve Breston. You had a big game last week. They're going up against Minnesota this week. They're not nearly as good at D as they used to be. And all the attention's going to be on Larry Fitz. So look for Breston to have another decent game.
All right, my stud's a guy that's been very disappointing this year, and that's Tom Brady. His owners have, been hating him, thinking about taking him out of the lineup, but don't do it this week. They play the Browns, and Belichick, I think, is a little vindictive. He's still mad about the Spygate with Mangenius. I think he's going to run up the score on him. Brady's going to be a big part of that. Get him in your lineup. My stud is going to be Javad Best. Sure, he's playing the Jets. That's obviously reason enough. But Kevin Smith got in last week, and that's really the reason why I want to bring him up. It looked like they were splitting carries. Best was getting a little bit more, but going forward, this might turn into a timeshare. So this week, Jets and Splitting hate it. Going forward, he's definitely scary to own. And my sleeper is going to be Greg Olsen. He's playing the Bills. The Bills give up the most points to tight ends. Greg Olsen's a tight end. Makes sense, right?
All right,
Should be good, I'm guessing.
Let's get into Mike's picks. His stud, Phillip Rivers versus Houston. We all know Houston can't stop the pass, and we definitely all know that Rivers loves to throw the ball. His dud, Cedric Benson against the tough run D of Pittsburgh. Benson has been able to run on him in the past.
He loves that fact. I hear it every year.
It's still going to be a tough feat for him. I think he has a mediocre game, and obviously Mike does as well. And his sleeper is Creighton. Going up against Houston, they got some injuries out there. Gates isn't going to be 100% even if he does play. It could be a nice day for Creighton. We think he has a good matchup. Stick him in your lineup if you're looking for a wide receiver. So that's it for this week's show. As always, Follow us on iTunes, Twitter, all that good jazz. Get into our forums. We got our basketball stuff going. I'm Dustin. This is Brent. Good luck this week.